They were rich. They were famous. But behind the cameras, they were drunk. All the time. Cocktail glass from Oscar winners to teen heartthrobs, these 25 Hollywood stars let alcohol take the spotlight. Some hit rock bottom. Others never came back. This is the dark side of fame. Peter O'Toole was one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors, tall, charismatic, and unforgettable in Lawrence of Arabia. But off-screen, his reputation for drinking was just as legendary as his acting. O'Toole once showed up drunk to the wrong funeral, believing he was attending a friend's service. It wasn't a one-time slip, it was a glimpse into a lifestyle fueled by alcohol. Known to down multiple bottles of whiskey in a day, he often turned up on set still intoxicated from the night before. Friends and co-stars worried, but O'Toole laughed it off. He claimed drinking helped his creativity, until health problems forced him to quit. Even sober, he remained one of the wildest legends in film history. W.C. Fields was one of Hollywood's earliest comedy legends, but his love for alcohol was no joke. He famously quipped, "I never drink water. I'm afraid it will become habit-forming." Behind the humor was a serious drinking problem. Fields often carried a flask on set and disguised liquor in a teacup during filming. Directors would shoot around his drunkenness, using body doubles when he was too intoxicated to stand. His off-screen persona became almost inseparable from his on-screen image, the grumpy, boozy curmudgeon. Friends said he rarely drew a sober breath. By the end of his career, alcohol had ravaged his health. But even in decline, Fields remained one of the most uniquely memorable figures in early Hollywood. Errol Flynn wasn't just a Hollywood swashbuckler, he lived as recklessly as the characters he played. Known for his roles in Captain Blood and the Adventures of Robin Hood, Flynn became a symbol of charm, danger, and non-stop drinking. He reportedly kept vodka in water bottles on set and once bragged about starting his day with champagne. Co-stars described him as perpetually intoxicated, yet somehow always camera-ready. His womanizing and wild parties were tabloid staples, and his home was nicknamed the House of Sin. When he died at just 50, his friends honored his infamous legacy, by placing 6 bottles of whiskey in his coffin. To many, Flynn didn't just play the rogue, he was one, to the end. Humphrey Bogart, one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men, was known as much for his gritty on-screen presence as for his off-screen drinking. While filming in exotic locations, Bogart famously chose whiskey over local water, fearing the water would make him sick. This habit was more than just precaution, it reflected his steady reliance on alcohol. He was often seen with a glass in hand, whether on set or at parties, blending his tough guy image with his hard-drinking lifestyle. Despite his heavy drinking, Bogart maintained a professional reputation and delivered unforgettable performances in classics like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon. His relationship with alcohol was part of his legend, a man who seemed to carry the weight of the world, one drink at a time. Spencer Tracy was one of Hollywood's greatest actors, known for his natural performances and charisma. But behind the scenes, his heavy drinking became a serious problem. Tracy's alcohol use caused frequent delays and conflicts on set, frustrating studios and co-stars alike. So much so that Fox Studios threatened to fire him unless he sought help. To keep his career afloat, a special Tracy Squad was formed, a team dedicated to managing his drinking and keeping him on track during filming. Despite his struggles, Tracy continued delivering unforgettable performances in classics like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. His battle with alcohol was an open secret, illustrating how even Hollywood's brightest stars could be haunted by addiction. Frank Sinatra was one of the most legendary singers and actors of the 20th century, but behind his smooth voice and charismatic charm was a man deeply entangled with alcohol. Known as a functioning alcoholic, Sinatra reportedly drank a bottle of Jack Daniels every day. His drinking didn't always interfere with his career, in fact, some say it fueled his intense performances and tough guy persona. However, his battles with alcohol were well documented by those close to him. Sinatra's love for whiskey was so strong that rumors say he was buried with a bottle of Jack Daniels in his casket. His story is a classic example of fame mixed with addiction, one that shaped the myth of, blue eyes, forever. Barbara Peyton was a rising star in the 1940s and early 50s, known for her striking beauty and promising acting career. But behind the glamour, Peyton's life spiraled out of control due to heavy drinking and drug abuse. She became notorious in Hollywood for her wild behavior, showing up drunk on set, missing calls, and burning bridges with directors and co-stars. Her personal life was chaotic, marked by multiple failed relationships and public scandals fueled by alcohol and substance abuse. Once seen as a potential top leading lady, her addiction cost her almost everything. Peyton's career declined rapidly, and she faded from the spotlight, battling alcoholism until her untimely death at 39. Her story is a tragic reminder of how fame and addiction can collide, turning Hollywood dreams into heartbreaking nightmares. Diana Barrymore was born into Hollywood royalty, the granddaughter of the legendary John Barrymore. With such a famous lineage, expectations were sky-high, but Diana's life was marked by turmoil. From a young age, she struggled with alcoholism, which often affected her performances. Reports say she sometimes appeared drunk on stage, battling to keep her career afloat despite her addiction. Her personal life was riddled with failed marriages and public scandals, all fueled by her dependency on alcohol and drugs. Though she sought help multiple times, her battle with addiction was long and painful. Tragically, Diana Barrymore died at just 38, her promising talent overshadowed by her struggles. Her life serves as a cautionary tale of how fame and family legacy can sometimes come with a heavy cost when addiction takes hold. Oliver Reed was a British actor known for his powerful screen presence and equally legendary off-screen antics, especially his heavy drinking. Reed's reputation as a hard drinker became part of Hollywood folklore. He was infamous for binge drinking sessions, where he would consume massive amounts of alcohol, sometimes with friends or fellow actors. Legend has it that after his 8th drink, Reed transformed into what people called a monster, exhibiting wild and unpredictable behavior. His partying often caused chaos on film sets and in social circles. Despite his alcoholism, Reed delivered memorable performances in films like Gladiator and The Three Musketeers. Tragically, his excessive drinking contributed to his premature death at 61 during the filming of Gladiator. Oliver Reed's life is a vivid example of the destructive power of alcohol, wrapped in the charisma and talent of a true Hollywood rebel. Robert Downey Jr. is now known worldwide as a Hollywood superstar, but his path to stardom was marked by a very public struggle with addiction. Throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, Downey battled heavy drug and alcohol abuse that led to multiple arrests and rehab stints. His addiction caused him to lose major roles and nearly ended his career. Often appearing intoxicated on set and in public, Downey's life spiraled out of control. However, in 2003, he made a remarkable turnaround, committing to sobriety and focusing on recovery. Since then, he rebuilt his career with iconic roles like Iron Man, becoming one of Hollywood's biggest successes and a symbol of redemption. Downey's story highlights the devastating impact addiction can have, but also the power of resilience and second chances. Charlie Sheen's career skyrocketed with hits like 2.5 Men, but behind the scenes, his battle with alcohol and substance abuse became headline news. Known for his wild partying, Sheen's drinking spiraled out of control over the years, fueling erratic behavior and public meltdowns. His 2011 breakdown on the set of 2.5 Men was infamous. He was fired after a series of on-set incidents fueled by intoxication and drug use. Tabloids chronicled his legal troubles, rehab stints, and personal drama, turning his struggles into a media spectacle. Despite multiple attempts at rehab, Sheen's addiction issues have been a recurring challenge throughout his life. Yet, he remains a talented actor who has occasionally spoken openly about his addiction and the effort to stay sober. His story is a raw example of how fame and addiction can collide in the harsh spotlight of Hollywood. Johnny Depp is celebrated for his versatile acting and iconic roles, but behind the scenes, his battle with alcohol has been well documented. Depp has openly admitted that for years he started his mornings with vodka to help him write and get into character. He described this period of his life as poisoning himself, acknowledging the destructive pattern of daily drinking. Depp's alcohol use, often combined with drug abuse, contributed to personal and legal troubles that frequently made headlines. Despite these challenges, Depp has continued to work in major films and has sought help to manage his addiction. His story highlights the complex relationship many artists have with alcohol, using it as both a creative crutch and a harmful escape. Depp's journey is a stark reminder of how fame and addiction often go hand in hand. Elizabeth Taylor was one of the most iconic and glamorous stars in Hollywood history, famous for her beauty, her bold personality, and her legendary film roles. But behind the diamonds, designer gowns, and tabloid headlines was a woman battling deep personal demons. Taylor struggled with alcohol and prescription drug addiction for much of her adult life. At the height of her career, she was often too intoxicated to remember her lines, and her erratic behavior on set became a concern. Friends and colleagues later revealed that she used alcohol to cope with emotional pain, fame, and the pressures of constant public scrutiny. In 1983, she made headlines again, this time for becoming one of the first celebrities to publicly enter the Betty Ford Center for Rehab. Her decision was groundbreaking, helping to destigmatize addiction and inspire others to seek help. Taylor not only completed treatment but later became a vocal advocate for recovery and mental health. Her willingness to face her addiction openly made her not just a Hollywood legend, but a symbol of strength and vulnerability. Elizabeth Taylor proved that even the brightest stars can struggle, and still rise again. Zac Efron rose to fame as a teen heartthrob in High School Musical, but behind his clean-cut image, he was quietly battling a serious alcohol problem. As his fame exploded, Efron found himself overwhelmed by the pressures of celebrity life and turned to alcohol, and later drugs, to cope. His addiction worsened as he tried to transition into more mature roles, leading to erratic behavior and incidents that caught public attention. In 2013, Efron entered rehab and began a journey toward sobriety, later crediting daily routines like fitness, meditation, and outdoor adventures for helping him stay clean. He's spoken candidly about how fame isolated him and how recovery gave him a second chance at life and work. Today, Efron is an example of a young star who faced addiction early and chose to reclaim control. His story shows that even rising stars aren't immune to Hollywood's darker side.